Yeah, in 2040, the aviation landscape, the way we know the aviation landscape will have completely changed. In fact, you have to imagine a world where the airline fleet will have double then, the traffic will have double then, you will have hundreds, thousands of air taxis flying in urban areas, and also the way we interact with the aviation world will have completely changed. You have also to imagine that 2040 is not that far away in the aviation industry. It's not science fiction. It's not the day after tomorrow. It's tomorrow. And in fact, at Thales, we are already maturing the technology that will be used in products and in aircraft in 2040. It's already a reality for us.
All right, so that's very exciting. So what are exactly the factors that are triggering and driving the changes that we are expected to see, actually?
In fact, there is very sound driving factors. The fact that the air traffic is growing at a 6% rate for the next 20 years. The fact that there is this will of travel from most of the people in North America and Europe, but also in all the emerging economies, in Southeast Asia, in China, of course. So this will drive the traffic up. The opening of the skies, the ability to have this wheel of travel will really drive up the traffic. In consequence, the number of commercial aircraft in service, what we call the fleet, will double in the next 20 years. We are moving from 20,000 aircraft in service to maybe more than 40,000 in service by 2040. And it's a huge change in terms of how we are going to manage the airspace. And in addition of that, if you have thousands or hundreds of thousands of urban air taxis flying low altitude airspace, that will be for the air traffic management a huge change, game changer.
That's absolutely exciting, but it's the broad picture. But I mean, for me as a passenger, so what will really change when I'm taking a flight? What's going to happen? What is different?
Well, for us as passengers, the biggest difference is that seamless fluidity, door to door, from your home to your final destination. So basically, onboard passenger systems, we call them IFEC, in-flight entertainment and connectivity, are going to be the means to bring this environment that you know at home in the air, either for business, for leisure, or for connectivity. We know that it exists right now, but it's not perfect. At Thales, we're working on the interfaces, on the software, on the hardware, to bring this system to the next level. Along with this expertise, you need air-to-ground connectivity, you need cybersecurity to keep all that safe. And this is what is going to improve the flow and make that experience better for the passenger.
And for the actual aircraft, what does it imply?
For the aircraft, it's a little bit different. I can see actually four areas, four vectors of change. The first vector of change that I'm seeing is electrical propulsion systems. We're talking about electrical fully or hybrid systems along with energy storage systems. These, with new aerodynamic designs for the aircraft, I've got in mind blended wing bodies, the airframers are already working on it, will help carry more people in the sky and will do this in a more eco-friendly way. So this is the first vector that I'm seeing that's going to change our environment. A second vector, which will be a bit more less shown, is artificial intelligence. It's going to be incorporated in cockpits. It's going to be incorporated in the air traffic management system, and it's going to simplify how aircrafts are flown and the system, along with the airlines, how it's managed. A third system, and Vincent did allude to it, was air taxis. We've seen some over here. You can go to the Airbus booth and see one of them. It's going to be introduced in the 2020s. However, we know there are going to be teething problems because safety is paramount in aviation. By 2040, it's going to be commonplace. We'll be at the third or fourth generation of it, and it's even going to change the way cities are designed. And lastly, and quite interesting, we're going to see the return of supersonic flight. For one good reason. The biggest problem with supersonic flight is the boom, the sound that it makes as it goes through and reaches the speed of sound. And that's being mastered today in a way that you'll be able to fly over land, which will make this means of transportation more practical. Obviously, this is not going to be for the masses. It's still going to be for wealthy people, but it's going to allow reaching distances with much less time than today.
All right, that's very exciting. Vincent, you spoke about low altitude. Now, what about high up in the air, I mean in the skies, or even on the ground? So what is going to change? What is going to happen?
Yeah, there will be a lot of change in the cockpit, in the way the pilots interact with the cockpit and the electronics on board. In fact, and you can even question if there will be still a cockpit on board, because if you think about future autonomous aircraft, no need to have an interface, no need to interact with the machine, there will be no more pilot on board. Maybe there will be a pilot on the ground supervising all these autonomous flying aircraft. So that's really a game changer. More progressively, there will be also change in the way the avionics, the electronics that constitute the cockpits, is shaped and how it's done. They will be distributed with a portion in flight on board and a portion probably in a cloud somewhere in the ground. And with permanent connectivity, with cyber security, we'll be able to monitor, to supervise all these things from the ground. That means that the role of the pilot will fundamentally change from flying to monitoring and supervising over the next years. And all of this is possible because we are right now working on the technology that will enable us, such as permanent connectivity with high bandwidth, of course cyber security, you need to be safe.
Absolutely.
All the artificial intelligence that will allow to have onboard assistance to assist the pilot. So this will be key enablers to progress in such new architectures.
Right, that's very exciting. I guess it's not happening like tomorrow, but probably for, let's say, my kids or even before for us. When it's close, right?
It will be a gradual deployment, in fact. You have to imagine that in the world of aviation, and of course this is what we all rely on when we are flying personally, is safety is crucial. We are talking about complex system that has a level of safety amazing, ability to have only one major failure every 200,000 years. That's huge. So it will be a gradual development and gradual deployment. We are also facing challenge in terms of how society, how passenger will accept that change, how the regulation will accept also that change.
That's a very key question, actually. I mean, flying in an autonomous plane, I really can't imagine that yet. I mean, an autonomous car, we've seen people are, they are a bit reluctant about because they don't understand it yet. So in the plane, it should be quite challenging too.
It's a challenge, but we really believe with André and all the technology he mentioned and all the pillars we rely on that we are paving the way for this autonomy that is really shaping the future of aviation.
All right, so very promising, very exciting. The future looks bright. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for sharing.